Hello, my name is Jesse Parker, and today I will be discussing metacognition, what exactly it is, how it can be developed, and how it can be utilized in different strategies by educators to better facilitate the learning of the student. Metacognition, in the most simplest of terms, is the act of thinking about thinking, so to speak. It involves looking at how you think about situations, whether it be for studying purposes or problem solving, recognizing or monitoring those patterns or behaviors that you use to study, evaluating how effective they are, planning new ways of studying at a better efficiency, and then evaluating again. This continues in a cycle. Before we can really get into the meat of how to use it for academic purposes, we should look at what knowledge you already have that metacognition uses. Metacognition utilizes three kinds of knowledge. Those types include declarative knowledge, procedural knowledge, and self-regulatory knowledge. Declarative knowledge is the information of your skills and abilities, namely knowing what you are capable of. For example, it would be comparable to knowing the facts behind the parts of a cell. Procedural knowledge is more about knowing how to apply that information. An example of this is knowing the difference between what the parts of a car does to knowing how to put it together. Lastly is the self-regulatory knowledge, which is knowing when a task is done. For example, knowing when all the parts of the car is in place and deciding that it is completed. This all being said, metacognition is about applying these different types of knowledge to formulate plans or strategies to improve learning. This is where planning, monitoring, and evaluating come into play when creating these strategies. The first step to thinking about thinking is to start a plan. This involves deciding how long a task should take, how to start a task, what way to go about completing that task, what the sequence of events should be in the task, what you need to complete the task, and other such aspects. After you have planned the strategy you will take, you then must monitor how you are doing. This involves asking yourself questions throughout the process of learning directed at how well you are retaining information. These include questions such as, "Do I get this?" Or, "What does the information mean?" Or, "Am I working through this too fast?" It is very important to check in with yourself to see if changes need to be made. Lastly is the evaluation of your learning. This involves looking at the processes and goals of your learning strategy and judging whether you have reached them or not. If you have, what other things can be improved for efficiency? If not, what do you need to change to make it better? Perhaps a different strategy? Now that we know what the general process of metacognition is, what are some of those strategies that teachers could use for their students? The first strategy is a rather simple one. It involves boiling down the three stages of planning, monitoring, and evaluating into three distinct questions that should be answered. Those three questions can be abbreviated down to K, being what do I already know about the subject, W for what do I want to know, and L with after having completed our study, what have we learned? This strategy is designed to facilitate looking within your head to determine what you have learned, if there is more you want to learn, and what you already know about the subject. This style is especially useful for teaching as it allows us as teachers to gauge at what stage of the concept we need to start at with the students. After all, starting on very basic aspects that the students already know may lead them to boredom, and thus will lose focus. These types of questions can be used for any grade level of learning, albeit you may have to change the questions slightly depending on their level of understanding. However, even young ages can only benefit from introspection. Now that we know the basic format of metacognitive strategies, let's quickly go over what those specifically might look like. They can include activities that are designed for planning, or focusing your attention, such as highlighting text or speed reading to topics. Another style of activity involves organizing or remembering, which could include using diagrams, charts, or mnemonics. Another activity is comprehension, which can involve making mind maps, summarizing, or creating examples. Fourth is cognitive monitoring, which uses self-testing or asking questions to identify what needs to be worked on. And lastly is practice, which is just practice. After all, practice makes perfect. Now, it's important to always consider these activities through the lens of monitoring, planning, and evaluating. If not done so, is it really thinking about thinking? Thank you so much for watching my video. I hope that this examination of metacognition has helped you realize new strategies or ways to better educate your students. And if you are just a student instead and looking for better ways to actually study, bear in mind that you can always utilize these principles of planning, monitoring, and evaluating mixed in with the activities that we mentioned before, as well as the K, W, and L. Again, thank you very much for watching, and I hope you all have a wonderful day.